Hello, everyone. We're going to start off today with taking a look at the Poppin' Off, powered by Jack in the Box, and then maybe a quick recap of some of our dark horse results for the upcoming Summer Showdown.
And we've also both submitted brackets about what we think this tournament is going to look at, but I haven't shown Avast mine, and he hasn't shown me his. So we're going to find out what we think of each other's live during today's episode of Contested.
I'm Avast, this is Jane, and welcome to Contested. Hello, everyone. We are once again live in the Frontier Communications Studio in Dallas, Texas. I'm Avast, and obviously, this is Jane.
Hello. Just need to make sure that we remind you of who we are every single episode, in case you forget. I know that quite a few of you have poor memories, so...
I forget all the time.
Yeah, sometimes I have a sticky note on my mirror every single day.
Well, we are conflicted, you know?
Yes,
because
very
I'm Jath. No, you're Jath, and I'm Av.
Yes. We've also
conflicted.
Hired our alter egos.
Yes, that they might be making an appearance at some point.
We had some. We did some job interviews, and we managed to get some affiliates, or rather, reporters in the field.
Yes.
So next week, I think you're going to see some new characters join us on the show, and look forward to that. But they're still getting onboarded, so you won't see them today. They're still kind of getting used to the show.
Contract disputes. Yeah. It's a whole legal battle.
Negotiations are rough, you know.
We're gonna have to really just work through those issues there. But before we get into, because today's episode is a Summer Showdown sort of preview.
Yes.
You know, we've done the qualifiers, all the online matches have happened, and now coming up this weekend, we actually have the final, sort of the climax of the Summer Showdown and actually playing the matches, determining who wins, who loses. You know, the whole spiel that you do with
the
tournaments.
whole spiel. Is it the third tournament that we've done now?
I think it's second for this year, right?
Well, yeah, we were already talking about the third.
But there's a third tournament.
So before we get into talking about this one, which is the Summer Showdown, they've also announced the Countdown Cup, which is going to be the third, and as far as we know, final tournament, because of course we are approaching the end of the regular season, so there's going to be a third of this tournament style, which honestly I think so far has been
it's
pretty
great.
successful.
Yeah, it's good. The tournament style in general I think is good. I like having
I like it too. It definitely gives it kind of a pattern and a little bit more of, I don't want to say like an identity, but there is something to look forward to. And, you know, as you have rallied against regular season games repeatedly on this show, I think you must be happy to have the qualifiers and the build up to a tournament where we actually get to kind of see like, this one matters, higher stakes, more prize pool, better Overwatch, higher percentage of good teams playing good teams. I mean, it's a fun time. I think they actually finally really nailed the format for online tournament play. So we get one more of those after the Summer Showdown in the form of the Countdown Cup, and then a couple of weeks of makeup games. And unfortunately, the last and final thing that Overwatch League and Blizzard has not told us yet is what the heck is going on with the grand finals. So they said that they
and playoffs in general. They said they're waiting for postseason playoff dates later in June or July.
We're still waiting on that, but we get at least one more tournament out of the season, and then the next thing we'll be looking forward to is going to be the playoffs.
But before we get into our whole preview and we live react, you know, like a bunch of React Andes to our brackets that we have created and we haven't seen, we do have a Poppin' Off presented by Jack in the Box, or powered by, you know, whichever sort of by Jack in the Box you might want to put it. But it is the Poppin' Off, and this week's Poppin' Off includes Treyobin from the Shock. Are we running a... Oh, we're good? Okay. You know, this has been... we're lagging behind. We have a lot of brain lag going on today. Well, the Poppin' Off today, presented by Jack in the Box, is Treyobin on Rialto first. And Choi here is doing the classic stealth flank Sigma maneuver, which you've seen Choi do a lot. All of the best Sigmas actually more consistently find these off angles, and you see Fusion pushing forward into the first choke. They've already gotten both support picks early from the Shock, and they're continuing to push, but Choi just sits in the back line, finds Hisu and Boombox very early, finds another two, collaborating there with Smurf and with Striker. And really, Choi just playing that off angle extremely well. He does drop a zero-man flux. He's sort of on the Fortify and Orisa. But overall, Choi finding four, stopping the push, and allowing Shock to recap, even being down their supports. That was the Poppin' Off presented by Jack in the Box.
It is really impressive to see how Sigma play is kind of being elevated. Choi Hobin's a great example of it. You know, we've talked previously on the show about Gargoyle and now Krong. I think that we were a little bit soothsayer in that regard, where we were talking about how Krong and Rio were both really good for the charge, and now I'm seeing the conversation everywhere. People have gone so far as to start recommending Krong as Rookie of the Year. He's been playing so well. That might be a bit early.
It's sort of a sleeper pick, I think, in terms of like people are sure they're seeing it, but it's always tough to get like the Rookie of the Year away from like DPS players. Really.
Yeah, like on Sun Sniper and there's a lot of really good candidates for Rookie of the Year. But what I'm trying to say is that like Sigma players, it's really easy to get kind of like generic value on Sigma, but finding those Sigma plays that actually do allow you to get distinct value on your own. You know, you're really good with the Rock if you're putting it into a pull. You know, the Flux is really good for winning team fights, but being a solo carry on Sigma, I think is actually one of the higher skill ceiling characters in the game to do that on. And see people like Gargoyle, like Krong, and also, especially like Choi Hoban do it, you know, pretty regularly is super impressive to me. That is a difficult character to secure solo kills with.
And also just, we've seen a lot of clips as well coming out of just like Krong hitting nasty rocks that just like cancel fluxes left and right now because the new flux changes that cancels. And also, you know, this is an interesting comment. Was this a real game, though? Asked Fate Follower. And to answer your question, Fate Follower, Shock sort of stopped the fusion. So, no, I wouldn't say it was that much of a real game. But it did technically happen in the Overwatch League. It was a match that was played. But it was a stellar performance from all those people. But I felt like Choi's performance there was exceptionally good. He's always consistently an extremely, there's just a high impact off tank all the time. He knows his role so well that no matter what tank he's particularly playing, because that's a big part of off-tank play and just role play in general is knowing what exactly you're looking to do and what your win conditions are. And Choi seems to recognize that consistently with there. But that was sort of like me just being in awe of Choi Hoban, as we all should. A very good player. But we do have the rest of the teams to look at as well. Not just Choi, not just the Shock, because the Summer Showdown is coming up. And we have to live reveal our brackets to each other.
So this is going to be a little bit interesting. Our broadcast director, Mike, had the glorious idea of Avast and I, myself being Jane, in case you forgot our names again.
And I'm Av.
Yeah, Jast, something like that. We submitted our brackets to Mike. He's loaded it up so that at the same time you guys in the audience watching this live see the brackets, it's going to be the first time that we see each other's brackets as well.
It's sort of like it's like we're seeing each other. It's like when we lift the veil, like a marriage.
Because
ceremony.
usually we can just like collaborate and make sure that none of us has like too crazy opinions. But now you're going to see which one of us actually knows our stuff. So.
And I'm trusting that we both had very correct, right opinions. I.e.,
absolutely.
My opinions.
I'm sure that our opinions are exactly the same. That the Seoul Dynasty is going to win the Asian
Mike
division.
he said that they're similar.
Yeah, he said it was similar for the Asian division, right? Or the
I
don't remember. He gave us a hint.
And also, these brackets where the whole creation was done by Solomon in conjunction with the Overwatch League, which is another
Solomon.
Nice. Now, do you have? I still see the Lederhosen pictures, Mike. I'm only seeing Lederhosen.
Mike's just sending us
is
more
this in the
Lederhosen.
Contested chat?
Oh, okay. So
well,
who are we linking first? Let's look at this first one. What is this first one here?
Well, I got to bring them up.
This is Avast's North American bracket. Let's go through the smaller amount of teams first. Let's start with Asia bracket. Okay, let's start with the Asia bracket. I haven't looked yet. Which one
I'm looking at yours right now.
Asian bracket?
I'm looking at your Asian bracket right now.
Jane's Asian bracket.
I see, of course, you've given Shanghai Dragons the bye win.
Yes, they did manage to win against literally nobody. I felt like that was a pretty solid guess. Now,
overall, our Asian brackets are pretty much the exact same.
Are they? Can we look quickly at yours to see the difference? Is there a difference? I think the only one that we might disagree on is going to be whether London Spitfire Seoul Dynasty.
No, because yours said that London beat Seoul.
Our Asian brackets are exactly the same.
Yeah.
Woo! Okay, we're not idiots.
Perfect.
I mean, either that or we'll all go down together.
Because I mean, realistically, right? I feel like, and is that London just looks a little bit nastier. Than
they do look a little bit nastier. Seoul is definitely inconsistent. They've looked like shaky. You know, they took a map off of the Shanghai Dragons during their match, but even in that match, they were just like still not looking good. So it was like Seoul Dynasty, and then the London Spitfire. I definitely think their performance looked a lot better than it otherwise would have because it was kind of joined by the fact that Spark, despite QOQ and Architect, had a really bad weekend last week. So maybe that was a poor read on the shifting meta or anything like that. So really, I do think that it's much more likely that London Spitfire continue their upwards trajectory. And my brain just short-circuited.
It's already going pretty well today. So with the popping off,
it's going fantastic.
We are just really doing good. I do think Pretty Shanghai over Bai is a dumb bet. knowing the Asia region, I wouldn't be surprised that Bai suddenly feels like a 6-man roster and it's just like, actually, we're not losing today. But It would be classic Soul Fasher, though, I think, to suddenly show up and be like, and just roll London.
Yeah.
It would be a classic Soul
it
maneuver.
wouldn't be like, oh my god, what has happened if, like, the Soul Dynasty beat the London Spitfire?
No, it's not crazy, but
Yeah.
it's still, we're both feeling much more confident.
Yeah,
about London right
certainly.
now.
Like, Hiley has shown some really good improvement. It's not just the same guys that were
Yes.
carrying London Spitfire before with the form of, like, Glister and people like that. You're seeing players who weren't previously contributing to big plays or wins from the side of London Spitfire. Wow, we're really up there with
I
words
will
today.
say that one of the more interesting narratives too is like imagine your C9 Jack and the London Spitfire like management team, and you come into the summer showdown and you just beat Seoul Dynasty, who have paid like out the nose for your old players, because it's literally London Spitfire beating the old London Spitfire.
Yeah.
And imagine if they win that match, where it's not just incredible as like from a rookie performances and like what this team has developed from the talent available there, but also just from like an org perspective and how funny it would be. Because at that point, Jack's just like falling asleep.
At
on
the same
pile
point
of
with Jack
money,
even Gary, he was trying to sell the org in the
well,
first
I mean, but
place.
the whole thing is that he sold all the players, right?
Yeah.
And there was this whole a whole debate of like, if they weren't able to get the players or like coaches they wanted, they might have gone like a Western roster.
Yeah.
So I do think it's a really funny move, like just from a perspective of like, this is an org that is a team playing their old team. They're just playing those old members.
Yeah.
And if they win, then it's incredible. And they did it for much less money.
And Jack's just like, easy, pops a dab, and done.
London versus old London. Exactly.
Okay, are we gonna? I think that probably the biggest differences we're gonna see on the North American bracket on who we think's gonna pick, because like one of the big variations
Probably.
is teams pick their own opponents. So.
But I mean, overall, we can agree with the Asia bracket. Shanghai is probably the favorite to win.
Yeah.
New York advances pretty far. Charge is, like, in my opinion, and your opinion, I think as well, the third best team currently.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
we're kind of in agreement with everything there.
Yeah.
London and Seoul is like the only kind of wild card for me, I feel.
Yeah,
right now,
it
but-
doesn't matter who wins that team or that fight. I'm pretty sure both of them drop to Shanghai, and then I think that Charge is very solidly the second best team in the Asian division, and as you said, the third best team in the league. So yeah, I am very pleased to see that we agreed on the
gone well.
Asian
Now
bracket.
let's look at the NA
This is
bracket.
gonna
I'm
be a
looking
lot
at yours
worse.
right now. So
Okay, you're looking at mine, are you?
Let's see where we start to
Yeah.
divert a bit. So, okay, I see where we have not just on the picks. Actually, are our picks mostly the same? I think our picks might actually be pretty close
Yeah.
to the same.
Wait, you also picked the San Francisco Shock to pick the Los Angeles Gladiators.
I did.
Wait, did we pick the? Oh no, we disagreed on the bottom two, but we actually agreed that San Francisco Shock is most likely to pick the Los Angeles Gladiators.
I mean, like, because in my opinion, like, I don't know who else they picked, because Paris have been looking so much stronger.
yeah,
coming forward,
I think so
right?
too. Like Los Angeles Gladiators have been looking weaker. They've definitely been looking inconsistent, and especially with the San Francisco Shock, their justification for picking the Dallas Fuel earlier, back when they still thought the Dallas Fuel was a top 3 team, was to kind of get them out of the way early so they didn't have to fight them later. So all of like previous Shock strategy in picking opponents, as well as Gladiators just looking weaker, Eternal looking a lot stronger. I think that it's really smart for the San Francisco Shock to pick the Los Angeles
yeah.
Gladiators. So.
I agree. So, but the main things that we differentiate on here are So you have Fusion picking Valiant, and I had them picking Mayhem.
Yes.
And then I also had Rain, obviously, them picking Valiant.
I think that this was the hardest decision for me to make, whether or not the Fusion were going to pick the Valiant or the Mayhem, because those teams, in my mind, I'm still not quite sure where they actually sit in reference to their power level. So that one was a bit of a toss-up.
I'm still feeling just a lot more confident myself, because if I'm Fusion and I've seen Valiant's previous performances, they've shown they kind of could smash the Mayhem at points. So I do believe that for Fusion at least, that they would probably prefer to have a team that is generally like, because they know that in the matchups between the two earlier, they've had a really tough time. So if you think about it, it's probably a safe bet to say they probably have a little bit weaker. And then also based off their previous performance versus Eternal, they seem to have a lot of problems versus like the Genji comp and the new meta that sort of sprung up.
Yes.
So I think for Fusion, it's a safe bet for them to pick Mayhem over, or I should say, No, you picked Valiant. I should say Mayhem, because Mayhem got crushed by Valiant, and then Mayhem haven't been looking quite as strong, I should say, as Valiant at their peaks right now. I think.
Yeah.
That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, I think that Los Angeles Valiant was a little bit of a better pick. I think that Mayhem is potentially stronger. You know, they went very far in the May Melee. They had the composition that they just owned on with Yaki and Tracer. There is the potential that they really specialize into those.
But I feel like they've had those, like, because that's sort of what Valiant was doing, and that comp has sort of struggled a bit in North America for some of those squads versus like those Genji comps that would come up. So that's why I'm kind of like, but once again, like, we're doing gut feelings here, but I feel like that's where I'm headed.
One of the big ones is that I would have thought that regardless of who you pick between the Los Angeles Valiant and the Florida Mayhem, that Philadelphia Fusion would have actually won and advanced in the semifinals. But you're really short-selling the Philadelphia Fusion.
I am not big on Fusion.
Yeah.
I'm not big on Fusion. I'm really not right now. It's not, and obviously, it's not just about them getting rolled by Shock, because I don't think that's fair, because I don't think any team in North America currently can contest Shock.
Yes, I think that's completely a reasonable
I think
statement.
the gap is gigantic between them right now. If anything, well, actually, we'll save that for later. But for me, Fusion has still shown consistently that they just haven't had a lot of stiff competition so far throughout the entire season. Yeah. And they've never, and then they went to the first cup in the what was it called again? The
May Melee.
Yeah, May Melee. They immediately, like, their first time they face really tough opponents, they get smashed by Mayhem. Now, I just don't think
that was Mayhem at absolute peak.
That was.
And also, that was additionally, I think that I made the comment after our post show with the May Melee tournament that Fusion definitely was looking weaker and uncoordinated, like they weren't looking like their usual selves.
But also, I think the problem with that is that we're still basing them off of, like, their performances consistently against these teams that aren't very good when they're playing regular season.
And I do think that the only teams that Philadelphia Fusion has lost to this season so far, or like haven't beaten, are the Valiant and the Shock, right?
Yes.
They've beaten pretty much.
And then
everyone
obviously, if you include maybe like Mayhem.
Yeah, and then there's the addition that I do believe that the Philadelphia Fusion are a team that plays better when there are stakes and reasons to care. So with this being a tournament and them kind of not having the results they wanted, would have probably gotten a little bit more of a rude awakening, and they're not going to take people like the Mayhem or the Valiant lightly in this term. So, they're a team that's been strong, very confident about that, and maybe they kind of just got a wake-up call. At least this is me living in my delusional fantasy about people being properly motivated. But, it's like they've realized that if they don't actually put the effort in and play at least at their level where they are consistently good, if they don't at least play their average level, they're not going to win that game. And with the stakes higher, people like Carpe have been shown to perform time and time again under pressure. The entire team has a little bit more to prove there. I definitely think that the Fusion can at least make it to the next round, regardless of Valiant or Mayhem being played there.
It's not unfair. For me, it's actually not even to do with the Fusion motivation. Actually, I just truly don't believe, and it's not about their talent either. I just truly don't believe that they have been playing at the level necessary to beat some of the top teams.
Yeah,
like
you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
I
just
think
that
they've been hard carried by their talent.
Yeah, you think that Fusion's been hard carried by the content.
I think they have such a strong roster overall,
as opposed to somebody like Mayhem.
Yeah, I think if you look across the board, Fusion, you could probably rate Fusion's, like, if you go through lists, right? I'd rate Astro over Chris. And Boombox.
Yes, yeah,
right. And then we have,
but carried by is different. Like, I definitely think that Mayhem, especially Yaki, he proved that he.
Yaki.
Yeah.
And Gargle, but those I think are by far, and then Gangnam Jin. They have three strong part. While I think every member of Fusion for the most part is really good at their role.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that, like, what I'm trying to say is that yes, I suppose technically on paper we can argue that they're better with their talent, but I think another thing that really brings them to the next level is that these are guys who last year were real innovators in GOATs, coming up with new compositions, new strategies, that even a very stagnant meta, they were always pushing it to the next level. And as long as we see that kind of, like, very early on in the season, we were talking about winners and losers in hero pools. We were saying that Philadelphia Fusion was probably one of the teams that was a loser in hero pools because they had been proven, like the Shock, to be a team that worked much more on the side of things that can perfect and innovate.
But also, it's not even the same coaching staff anymore that created those, right? We have KDG now for Fusion. It's not even, what was their head coach before? It was Christopher and some...
Why can't I remember that?
But Christopher's still there, but now KDG
and the players
really
themselves as well, though. And I do think that, like, innovating, it's not just the staff.
Kirby,
yeah. But the players themselves are still there, and I assume that
but also the roster's transformed significantly, right? So the players are there, but
coming
we'll see, right?
This is also going to be the second week, so this was another when I was going through and, like, trying to weigh all the factors. Another one of the factors is the fact that we are in the 2-week hero pools now, and I do think the shift from 1-week hero pools to 2-week hero pools does favor the Fusion even more.
Yeah.
So.
Don't get me wrong. This isn't me saying like I think Fusion is significantly worse.
Yeah, and this is not saying that I'm right, you're wrong. This is absolutely going to happen. It's just I think we're
so
leaning
all
a little
Fusion
bit.
fans, you can calm down, okay? I'm not saying Fusion's
Why am
bad.
I the one simping for Fusion?
I have been. Listen, I have been very just. I just haven't been impressed with their performance. I don't know. They haven't won me over yet. They have not given me. They've not lulled me onto the camp. Okay, I'm not like Josh and Brennan them in Sideshow where I got invited into the tree houses.
Yeah.
And I didn't get the body pillows. Like I didn't get any of that. So you're having to do more to convince me. Write me into the will as well, Tucker. Okay, and then just like you've done Carpe, and we'll I'll always be a Fusion simp then.
So you're the one. So I was the one who really struggled to determine who was going to be better between the Florida Mayhem and the Los Angeles Valiant. We talked about them versus the Fusion, but walk me through your thought process for promoting Los Angeles Valiant to the finals over the Florida Mayhem.
Honestly, the big let me take a quick look at my bracket to refresh myself on how I picked it real quick. But my biggest reasoning was simply because at their peaks, and also the last time they played Mayhem, they 3-1 them. And at their peaks, I think Valiant is a team where if they get their act together, they should, because also the meta has shifted. But it's still, it has already been proven that we can still play like these Ash Tracer compositions, and we can play Widow. We can play it's still very much a similar style of meta, but with like Genji introducing the mix and Brigitte a little bit more. And so I think that Valiant have the tools that I've already shown in the past with very similar styles of play that they can get really far. And they've beaten Mayhem in the past when they played up against them.
Yeah, recently too. It's
Yes.
3-1, right?
So I do think that, for me at least, if they fix their issues that they had versus like Genji compositions, they beat Mayhem.
That is a big if.
It's a big if, right? But I have a lot of faith in the coaching staff for Valiant, right?
Yeah.
Now they have let me down tragically versus specifically in the Eternal game. But I also think Eternal definitely leveled up a lot, and I maybe underestimated the Eternal power level up, but I also don't really put it solely on that. I put a lot of it on the fact that I feel like Valiant just did not play well versus the Eternal. And as long as they go back to like sort of their form and they figure out a little bit more how they want to deal with Genjis in particular, I think they're golden again. I don't think there's anyone that they would really struggle against that heavily, other than maybe Mayhem. And it might be a close game, right? We're not predicting the map scores. We're just predicting the victory, right?
Yeah, the map scores would be an entirely different thing. So interesting though. All Wash 2002 in the chat. It's like, hey, can they see this? Is this live? Yes,
we can.
We are live. What is with words today?
We don't need them.
We are live. We can see the chat. And so All Wash 2002, since you're new here, what do you think about the bracket? Who do you think is going to be making it through that little bottom half of the bracket in order to face off against the San Francisco
And
Shock?
someone also brought up in chat as well that they're feeling like they're kind of second guessing Gladiator's Justice, because there's a potential Justice could maybe even make it through, but I have a hard time believing that. Okay, Justice fans, listen. Tuba's cool and all. Don't say his name backwards, but they rolled Boston.
Yeah, and Tuba had there was a really cool thread on Reddit as well. Did you see that one about the Fleta deadlift comparisons?
Yes, he had a lot of really good
where
performances.
Tuba had like 41% of the final blows in that game, which was incredible there. But even if Washington Justice plays at their peak, like the Los Angeles Gladiators, I think really have to come apart at the seams for them to lose to that roster. So,
yeah, I'm feeling very not like, I'm just not feeling confident, because if I can rate Fusion low, who have had pretty consistently good performances, but just lost against bad teams, I can't pred for Justice, who have done just nothing.
Yes,
I just can't.
Yeah,
I don't care if you beat Boston, who was looking better, right? Like, that's more, once again, Boston just has given me hope and has taken it away alongside every other Boston fan, right?
Tear for Boston.
But I really think the actual more interesting thing is really Eternal versus Fuel, because we both agree that Eternal probably progresses.
Yes.
But we also are predicating upon this fact, like, what if Decay comes back to play?
And we did actually see, I'm not sure if you saw,
I don't know,
but the Dallas Morning News, Sean Collins put out an article which included an interview with Tickety, the assistant coach for the Dallas Fuel, saying that Decay would be available to play.
Well, I mean, he was available to play before. The contract.
So
what is that? They run out of stock of Decay, or I don't know. What does that mean?
We're all out of Decay stocks.
I don't know what that even supposed. Was he not available before? Was that one of the blackout periods of Decay? I don't understand.
It doesn't matter if they're not on sale. Get more Decay
for the month. I don't.
So he's available to play. I think that's the nice way of saying that, like, his rest is done, but we don't want to give away whether or not we're actually going to play Decay. Because if you say, like, Decay's in this week, Eternal goes, oh, Decay's in this week, and can plan around that. Whereas if you say he's available to play, it's kind of like, you chill the fans up, but the Eternal are going like, oh, now what? Because, if Decay does play, that also means that the scouting information that the Paris Eternal has on the Dallas Fuel is no longer relevant.
Yes.
And that's a pretty big deal.
And it does open up the possibility, since Doha has a very solid Genji.
He does.
And they can put the K back on, like, the Ashe. It has the possibility to have a pretty strong team comp. But I do think overall, I still favor Eternal because, especially, like, I'm already going to put this out into the airwaves, but if we have a vote later on down the line of, like, most improved player, you know who my most improved player for this year so far is, at least? It's Binbest. Binbest is actually so much better this year. It's insane to me. His performance from last year to this year is kind of nuts. And this is also with the fact that he's now playing with a roster that's not even like full French speaking, or I actually think that Binbest is like a really key proponent, like a component of the the Eternal roster right now. And I feel like pretty confident on them and their synergy that they have. And we talked about how Halt is such an important mechanic for teams right now. Yeah. Paris utilized it exceptionally well versus their match with Valiant when they were running a lot of Sparkle Genji. So I feel I'm feeling kind of, I've always been kind of bullish on Eternal, especially once they've made some changes to the roster.
Yeah,
but I mean, even
the two improvements
right
of Fielder and Sparkle, which is when I've been watching the Paris Eternal, I have been focusing on both Sparkle and Fielder. So I have to admit that I haven't watched Binbest play. I think I would probably say almost the entire year. So I can neither confirm nor deny.
And someone says like
saying.
Over Sato, and I would say yes, because at least Sato had moments. I mean, Sato, especially like season 1, had moments of greatness. Binbest was just terrible season 2. The entire Paris Eternals roster last year was just disastrous. I did not enjoy watching Binbest play. I do not see Binbest is what I said. But now I'm actually like, wow, he's playing really well, and the synergy has been fantastic. So, and the same goes with Fearless. People are like, Fearless, like, guys, a player being on a better team doesn't make them a better player.
Yes.
Okay? Fearless was good season 1, even when Dragons were 0-48. Binbest was terrible last year and looks really good this year. So we should stop conflating player being on better team
makes player
versus
better.
player better, right?
Yeah.
Two different things, I think. Fearless was great when he played season 1. Sato had great moments season 1 and even parts of season 2 at points. But Binbest had just no redeeming moments in season 2.
Oh, no.
So I do think that this was an exceptional upgrade. But that's why I'm so big on Eternal, I think, over Dallas. Even with Decay comes in, I think it would have to be a significantly different Dallas team we see.
Yeah. Especially when we're going into it, I think that the supports make a big deal, but the tanks as well. Like, we're seeing so much, not just the tanks' individual kind of microplay, but also the coordination around the halts and the more combo plays. And it really doesn't seem like the Fuel has either of those kind of X factors, if we want to use that term, that the other teams that are being really successful keep utilizing or leveraging in order to gain success. So yes, we're in a meta where I think the DPS have a higher ability to carry than they have in previous seasons or tournament cycles, whatever we call them this year. And, the Fuel has great DPS players, Doha and Decay. Doha, it was really nice to see him pop off on that Genji. That was a big improvement compared to what we've seen, especially on his Echo play. So, yeah, they have good DPS, but I think that they really need to kind of work on that tank to bring that tank line up to the rest of the league, and then work on actually getting the same kind of tactics that the other teams are using to be successful. So I agree with you that the Eternal are probably likely to win.
Not impossible, right?
It's not impossible.
Not impossible.
No. Especially if Decay pulls out a 42% game sort of thing.
It's really not impossible. It feels unlikely. But overall, I mean, we're all pretty set in stone, and we don't see Defiant going anywhere.
Nope.
No.
Nope.
I don't see Defiant going anywhere at all, other than the bottom of the standings. that's right. I don't have any hope for Defiant.
It's like the other one that is not impossible of being an upset is the Houston Outlaws versus the Florida Mayhem.
True. It's not. They have been performing better.
Yes.
There's no.
Especially Dante. Dante's been taking his play to another level.
Main tank has been very solid,
which is still mind-blowing to me. I still double take every
Bad Pachimari put out his hydration is marketable video. And
Did he?
Yeah, it was
I
going hydration on main tank and stuff. And it has like the opening clip of like last year. This was before Hydration made the swap. So they just played him for a couple moments, I believe. And they're like, oh, Hydration's playing main tank. And I'm like,
what?
I was like, excuse me?
That's the sort of thing where you're like, oh, Tymo's on main tank, right? Yeah, it's the same sort of thing. You're like, that's going to...
Then I learned during the offseason that people wanted Hydration got multiple offers to just be a main tank player.
Really?
Then, yes.
Did people scout him for main tank?
Eternal was one of the teams that won Hydration main tank potentially.
What?
Yes. Can you believe that?
Is that public or did you?
No, this has been said before.
Okay, I was like,
it's been said by me before at least.
Yeah.
So, but like I've said this before, but it doesn't matter. But it also
How do
doesn't matter.
people
We're at the
even
end of the
know
year,
that he was
right?
good at main tank?
I
It
know,
blows
right?
my mind.
Isn't that crazy?
Did he just want to play main tank instead of flex DPS? Maybe?
I think he just has some proficiency on it. Really.
I mean, Hydration has always been an incredible flex player. So
it's always been, and then they had flexed him onto like Ball and stuff, and Orisa before.
yeah.
So I do think that, and Flame himself also, who was GM for Outlaws for close to 3 years, and then was obviously released halfway through this year, said that they specifically re-signed him and made sure to get him for main tank, or not re-signed him, but signed him specifically to get him to play main tank.
Blows my mind.
Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
That's crazy, right? So, and then the rest of their squad that people have been discounting, like Lynx has had a resurgence performance as well. Dante's looking great. Jex has always been very solid, and they sort of swap it. And Meko has definitely not reached his highs.
Yeah, Meko hasn't reached nearly as high as he used to before.
But still solid.
Yeah, he's still Meko at the end of the day.
So I do think that Houston can have an upset potential there. But I find it...
Because just recently, like they played recently, didn't they? And it was a 3-2 game for the Mayhem. I'm pretty sure. I can double check that. But
yes.
So they played them
Houston has played them
4
close.
days ago or something like that.
Yes, he's played them
and
very close.
It was map 5 series. So that one is definitely potentially an upset. I still think the Mayhem are better, and if it is an upset, then the Outlaws have an even lower chance than the Mayhem did of progressing. That
would be quite a storyline, though, if Outlaws just like punch their way to the finals.
That would
somehow.
be nuts. Like
I would love that storyline. It would be incredible.
Outlaws could probably use the buff too, especially after the PR month they've had.
Yeah, it has been good.
No, hasn't been good. I don't think we have to touch on that during this show, but it feels bad, man.
It has been. It's been a rough time for all of that in general. And I do think, but it would be crazy, and we're all in agreement that it doesn't matter who really makes it to the finals. It doesn't matter who makes it to the finals. Shock is going to annihilate whoever makes it there on the molecular level. Yeah. They're going to pulverize them to atoms.
I think that's one that I'm really going to enjoy, regardless of who ends up. Normally I don't like one-sided matches, but if it's just...
There's something about watching Shock just
dominate when it's like clean dominance, like surgical execution, it's just kind of like, that's the stuff.
It's just something about it that just really it gets the people going.
Yeah, it tickles
it's
me in places
evocative.
I forgot about.
Did you get that reference?
Evocative?
It's a reference to it's a reference to Blades of Glory, the Will Ferrell movie. Whatever, It's in a Kanye West song too.
That was a long time ago,
I believe. Provocative? Oh, provocative, not evocative.
Okay.
It's a different cative. Different one of those.
There are a lot of those. I can see how you'd get them confused.
I mixed them up. It's been a while since I've seen that movie.
Okay.
Dark take,
horses.
I want to see this real quick. The hot take that Fusion game was peak Shock and they will never reach that height again.
I don't think so.
That's a hot take because I don't necessarily agree, right?
It's kind of like lukewarm. It's like, no, I don't want it. It's like reheated fries after yesterday's dinner.
It's just one of those things you just
Your
throw it
take
out
is
there.
not that hot.
Like, is there any evidence to back it up?
Yeah.
Or are we just
like I have to at least be entertained by your take for it to be hot. If you're like, ooh, I'm not sure what to think about that, but it's just like, lukewarm
kind of a
take.
steamy boot.
We do have to talk about who we think. We're talking.
We sort of did, but I think
like
we
the
should
dark
we should
horses.
solidify on like one candidate from each region.
Yes. So for dark horses, for finalists, we're complete agreement. It should be Shanghai Drag. Should be as if it was like if we are in a morally and ethically just world, the Shanghai Dragons and the San Francisco Shock should be the victors in their respective region. Okay, but the dark horses, if it's not going to be the Shanghai Dragons or the San Francisco Shock,
let's start with Asia region.
Who wins in Sid? Asia region first. You go first.
So if it's not Shanghai, it's probably Charge.
Yes. Is that really a dark horse?
But the thing is that I'm not talking about who wins. I'm saying like dark horse, like specifically. My actual dark horse candidate is probably my actual dark horse is potentially going to be the London Spitfire.
I'm trying to think of a reason to be contrarian, but I probably would.
Right? It's just like it just feels so right.
Yeah,
it feels so
because they've just been like we've seen a very recent uptick that just like COVID cases could be the start of an exponential growth into stardom. Mike doesn't like that analogy.
We're gonna have a sensitivity talk.
Yeah, censors are gonna get mad at me for that one. But I think that London Spitfire are a fantastic dark horse candidate, especially because for that storyline to be complete, they would have to knock out the Dragons and then the Charge in succession, which would be, we consider it to be number 1 and number 3 team in the entire league. So that would be
And it would just,
that would
once
be a
again,
story.
and also I personally root for it because I just love the narrative. I love the narrative of teams like Valiant, Mayhem, and Spitfire.
Yeah.
I really like the fact that we have these rosters that were either really bad before with Mayhem and rebuilt, rosters that were actually pretty good and got rid of all this big like marquee talent like Valiant and London.
Yeah.
And have rebuilt on a budget and focused much more heavily sort of on their organizational side and getting players that aren't quite as valued as often and building incredible rosters.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm so interested in London, in the Asia region, and also then Valiant and Mayhem too. But those aren't my dark horse candidates, I think, for that region. I have to look at it.
Yeah, and then like Seoul Dynasty, like they're way too inconsistent. Like if they there's just
I don't believe I will never
I don't
do
believe
not trust Seoul.
No, I don't trust them either. Even if they have like one great game, the next even if the game's like an hour later, they'll just be like, I've forgotten how to play Overwatch. So they're really inconsistent.
All the Seoul fans, they're doing is like they want to have like Seoul. What is it? The leading joke, that old joke, it's like they want to have Seoul carry their casket when they die, so they can let them down one last time.
Yeah,
that's Seoul Dynasty.
And then like New York Excelsior, I think 2 weeks ago now, I said that I had bought stocks in the New York Excelsior, and
have you sold them?
No, I don't think they've matured yet. They're still growing. They're still maturing as a team.
Sticking them in a tax favored account to grow later.
Yeah, it's that is a long-term strategy. Haven't really been super impressed with, the recent additions made them better, but I definitely think it's going to be a while for them to kind of find their groove and actually take that new aggression that they have enabled in the team and really apply it effectively. So I don't think that this is their moment. Maybe we'll start to see a rise during the Countdown Cup tournament series, which will happen afterwards. And then the Hangzhou Spark, I know they have QOQ and Architect.
I felt so big on the roster moves. But
I know you were like Spark.
Yeah, I was
Spark.
Because I loved the Spark last
Architect
year too.
and QOQ looked great when they played, and they definitely were an upgrade. But the fact that they got this upgrade that looked very visibly like an upgrade, they took the Guangzhou Charge to Game 5. They went 3-2 against the Guangzhou Charge, and then after that they just dropped maps 3-0. Like that was kind of.
And once again, we can attribute that, I think, towards the region in general.
Yes, it's a tough region.
It hasn't been the consistency I'd like from the Spark.
Yes,
at
absolutely.
All, with that sort of strength on the roster.
I'm gonna. Unfortunately, I have to agree with you, but I think that London Spitfire is definitely the dark horse candidate of the Asian region. NA region.
NA region. Now this is when it starts to get perhaps spicier.
Who do we think is the dark horse? I definitely don't think it's Justice or Defiant. That would be too ludicrous.
Defiant, we have gone. If you pick Defiant to be your dark horse candidate, you have gone beyond like dark horse candidate. We have ascended into dark matter candidate. I don't know. I don't know I don't know how it works. I can't observe it.
Yeah,
but it's there. But that is like we have gone way past.
A part of me always cheers for the candidate that is going to inspire the funniest post-match thread on Reddit. But even that is so far.
It's too much.
It's too much.
That's too much.
It's too much. Like it wouldn't even be meme worthy. People would just be like, "What happened?" There is no if Toronto Defiant wins the Summer Showdown meme folder. It's just too ludicrous. Nobody's put the effort into assemble a meme folder for that. How could the Reddit thread be entertaining?
Someone brought up an interesting point that. Well, first of all, let's pick our candidates. So I can go first.
I'm still thinking. You went first on the Asian region.
Oh, so do you want to alternate? Do you want to go first now?
Yeah, I feel like I should give you that courtesy.
Okay.
I mean, like, if I want to be safe, I say the Valiant. I don't think the Gladiators have the potential in order to contest against really any of the top four that we're really considering: the Shock, the Fusion, the Mayhem, the Valiant. I don't think
my real dark horse candidate here. I'm going to say it while
you're
going to
say it.
Mine's Eternal.
I was about 5 seconds away from saying that. You did it again.
Well,
I guess I should have just pulled the trigger on that one.
That's mine.
Yeah,
I know. That's initiative. That's initiative, chat.
Yep.
Think fast. Act. That's what I've done over this man. He's been boomed.
Yeah.
Jaff.
You got me twice.
Jaff has been boomed.
Just think faster, Forehead. Thanks, chat. You're so helpful. No, yes, and I think it would be a really cool storyline too, because especially in the Genji meta, and this will be the last time in which Brigitte's changes are still live, so we can still be using the Brigitte armor packs on Genji, and Paris Eternal probably to a larger extent, not by much, but a larger extent than all the other teams, have been putting a lot more resources into Sparkle. Mm-hmm. Having that storyline where they do actually manage to have a run through. I mean, like they face the San Francisco if they beat, or when I suppose they beat the Vancouver Titans, not if. Although that would be crazy too.
That would be crazy.
That would be crazy. They go against the San Francisco Shock, pull out an upset there off of the back of Sparkle pulling a deadlift right into the finals. It's conceivable if the Shock managed to shit the bed, but
Unlikely. Vancouver's the dark horse? No.
No.
Shock, it's just not.
They haven't figured out the CRISPR technology to clone Shockwave
it's
yet.
Just not. It's just no way. There's just no way.
Yeah.
It's like I think a reasonable dark horse. That someone brought up would. I mean, the thing is, like, there's no. I can't imagine, like, the thing about London, right, is that they haven't performed great, but they're on the upswing, and the region is so close in talent that, like, it's sometimes tough to see really where they're at, like, how good they are.
They're going to be scrimming great teams.
But the thing about NA is that there's so many really bad teams.
Yes.
And
there's, like, gatekeeper teams.
Yes.
There's trash teams, there's gatekeeper teams, and then there's the good teams. And, like, they are clear and distinct divisions in playing ability. So to conceive of the fact that somebody in, like, the trash tier division is going to beat the good teams, like, they have to get through the gatekeepers first, and that's just...
Like, someone said that Mr. X picks Atlanta, but I'm like, how do you justify that? How do you justify Atlanta's past 5 games? A 3-0 versus Defiant, lose 3-1 to Mayhem, lose 3-1 to Gladiators, and then 3-0 Defiant and Titans.
I mean, maybe he's a roulette player. It's like we got black 5 times in a row, so this time it's got to come up red, right?
Like, I get it's still technically a dark horse, right?
Yes.
Like, it is. There are dark horse candidates, but I'm not picking on reasonable dark horse candidates. That'd be like me saying, like, actually, Season 1 Dragons is going to reform in an A and then win the tournament.
It's not like dark horse is the least likely team to win it. It's kind of...
It's who you don't expect necessarily.
Yeah, but definitely can still have a shot at making it all the way.
You don't just pick random teams that are really bad and be like, this is my dark horse.
I mean, you could, but you'd be wrong.
But it's dumb.
Yeah. Stupid. Smooth brain. Knuckle dragger.
The D20 dice bog you. Yeah, I mean, that's really what I feel like sometimes Rain have pop-off potential.
It's an underdog who could do it. That's a good way of putting it.
I feel like Rain have pop-off potential in the same way that if I were to collect a bunch of, like, let's say if I were to collect a bunch of, like, dirt, you know? And no, this is not me complaining Rain. This is not me comparing Rain to dirt. I'm just saying, if I took a bunch of dirt and I compacted it and I put it into a tube and I shot it into space, eventually there is the potential that it could land with other matter in space and coalesce into a planet. And then on that planet, life could form. That's how I feel about Atlanta's pop-off potential, because it is so unrealized that I have yet to see it happen versus anyone other than the Defiant versus the Titans.
That is your crowning achievement of analogies.
That is currently.
I'm going to frame that one and put it on a wall.
I just don't see it happening. And if it is going to happen, it's not going to be in my lifetime. It's not. It won't. I will be long dead. I can't argue with that. I know we love Baby Bay here, but it's just not. I'm not feeling it.
All right, chat. Do you think we're all wrong? Do you think we're the stupid oxygen breathing knuckle draggers? Yeah, I don't know.
You use knuckle draggers a lot.
I mean, yeah.
Did you get that from Bill Burr? Is it Joe Rogan segment?
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's a good inspiration. Yeah, it's a good inspiration, and I like the insult too. I think knuckle draggers is a very funny insult.
My favorite is mouth breather.
Mouth breather is always interesting to me, but the thing is, it makes me self-conscious because I breathe from my mouth very heavily.
Who breathes through their mouth? What a weirdo.
Well, it's not that I breathe from my mouth; I just do it very heavily. So, change the podcast name to Dumb and Dumber.
See, now we need to put that on, like, Jayne and Avast. Read mean tweets. Exactly.
And we do have a mailbag.
We do have
as well.
A mailbag.
Now that we've sort of gone through our rants.
So last week, before we get into, or do we want to? Well, we can do our mailbag for this week. We'll get into the responses in a bit, but
so you want to ask the
it's related. So our mailbag for this week is going to be asking you who you think your dark horse. What is my words today?
You're having a tough time.
I'm having
a
tough time today, man.
Not going well.
Woke up on the wrong side of the bed. Okay, who is your dark horse for the tournament? And then, as always, just like we did for the last tournament, the craziest prediction, if you actually put it in the mailbag thread, which is either going to be on Mr. Avast's Discord, in the comment sections of YouTube, or on the Reddit thread. If you put a crazy prediction on there, and don't edit it, no editing allowed, even if you're edited just for grammar or syntax, doesn't count because we can't tell. Craziest prediction, if you get it right, you get VIP channel, VIP badge on this channel. So don't just give us Dark Horse candidate. Give us your craziest prediction. And if your prediction is crazy and comes true, VIP badge for you.
So now should we go into our responses from last week?
Yes, absolutely.
So our responses from last week, or not last week, but Tuesday's episode, we asked, who do you feel is currently the best team in the league? Shock or Shanghai? And we had a couple responses. I'm going to read from my Discord, so I'm going to let you read the one that's on the document.
All right.
So from my Discord, because if you're a part of my Discord, there's something called Contested Mailbag channel, and you can submit your responses there if you don't want to submit them in the YouTube comment section, or send them via Messenger Pigeon or Pony Express
Messenger
or
Pigeon.
Smoke Signal, whatever you would be. So this one came from Firewall, Jackbox Papega. Now, I don't know what the name's about, but I think the Shock are better. I think the Shock have been way more consistent in their games, except for that week where they boomed like 3 months ago. And I think their team is way more flexible than Shanghai. The DPS trio of Rascal on Striker can play almost anything at a high level. I think that Shanghai tank line is better mostly due to Fearless being better than Smurf and Void being on the same level as Troy. I think Shock supports, I see people reacting with a poggy as I read this comment on Discord. I think Shock supports are way better than Shanghai's, having both Violet and Twilight just unfair, and Moth has consistently been one of the best main supports in the league. Shanghai's backline just can't compare, with Izayaki smoking approximately 400 kilograms of cocaine before every match.
What?
Shock just outskill or on the same level as Shanghai at every role except main tank, and their coaching is far superior and consistent with Krusty as head coach, who's been giving amazing results in Season 1 Boston and Shock since last season.
I mean, they're closer to my opinion on it than not, I suppose. I think that it's a bit of a statement to say that the coaching is far superior, because very clearly the Shanghai Dragons have had performance that is comparable at the very
I mean, they've
least.
only lost one game.
Yeah, and if you're making the argument that these two teams are comparable, but that the San Francisco Shock have better mechanical talent and pop-off potential, then the Shanghai Dragons obviously have something else to keep them in contention, which is probably going to be their macro level, their strategy. So I think that going along the lines of them just having vastly superior coaching is a bit of a stretch. Like, just because they're not as famous, it doesn't have like a name brand coach in the form of Krusty, doesn't mean that their coaching hasn't
And
really
also,
been
I mean,
top
since
tier.
whenever you consider Moon not name brand, technically Moon helped reinvigorate the
compared
Valiant
to
for a
Krusty.
time, and then
Yeah.
I mean, Krusty's just by far the most famous coach,
yes,
like, the
absolutely.
most well respected, I guess, in
Yes.
the league. So it's just what it is. And as before you get to the comment the other comment we got from the YouTube comment section, also from my Discord, Not Odyssey had this to say: Eagle Gaming would slap these teams.
They're not wrong.
And they are the best team in Overwatch that they could never make it to Overwatch League. So
Eagle Gaming is EU's gift to
Eagle Gaming
esports.
is the best team, I think, in any sport ever.
Has ever existed and ever will exist. Greatest of all time.
Yeah.
Up to now and future included.
If it were possible, I would rename my first child to Eagle Gaming.
I already have.
Wow.
I don't even have a first
I don't know,
child.
but they're already predetermined.
Yeah, it's Rumpelstiltskin shit up in this.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
pretty impressive.
It is. I would also like to point out that not only did that individual say that Shock is better, agreeing with me, of course, since you are a Dragons supporter, but this individual, Mrat, also thinks that Shock is the better of the two teams. So now, to be noted, we have the two comments that we've selected both said that Shock were the favored team between the two of them.
Honestly, here's
However,
the crazy part. I read through comments in my Discord, and everyone predicted for Shock still. I had those Shanghai
Really?
predictions. Yeah.
And on the actual mailbag threads area, the predictions were actually pretty even between Shock and Dragons. So even though we've picked two comments, both that said Shock, just because they were the best comments, not because nobody predicted the Dragons. So Mrat says, my money would be on Shock. I love both these lineups, obviously, but I would need to spend more time studying the Dragons. I haven't spent enough time watching their matches in detail, but my gut feeling says the Shock's roster is equal, if not slightly better mechanically, but that their ability to play as a team and tactical knowledge is a step above. Over the course of 10 matches, though, I think it would be split pretty close to 5-5.
Yeah.
Good
Very
instincts.
reasonable.
Yeah.
Very reasonable overall. But if you also, just as a reminder too, since we are reaching the conclusion, Jane talked about it earlier, but if you want to respond to our mailbag question for today, which is, who is your dark horse candidate for winning either the Asia region or the NA region, right? Or either one or both. You know?
both.
Just depends.
Yep.
And obviously, if you get your predictions right, we'll give you VIP in the Team Envy channel. And you can post them in my Discord. Joshin's already posted his in the Discord,
Oh, has
which I
he?
won't read it because I don't want to reveal it till next week. But you can post them in my Discord in the Contested Mailbag channel. You can post them in the YouTube comment section when it goes live there on the Envytv channel. So there are a lot of options. And there's generally a Reddit thread that's made that you can respond there to, or you can make your own Reddit thread to do the responses.
Shout out to
But
Homebound 11.
those are two great options: your YouTube comment section or my Discord in the Contested Mailbag. or the aforementioned physical, more analog versions of Carrier Pigeon and Pony Express.
Yeah, and of course, if you are going to be watching the Overwatch League games, Avast streams the companion streams live on his own channel, so check him out if you are interested in watching the games and seeing him react to all of our brackets fall apart live.
Yeah, that's a real potential.
That's
that we
a
have.
solid potential.
That's a real potential we have. But that's the mailbag for this week. We're going to be back next week, obviously, to react with our predictions in shambles, more than likely.
Yep.
And see how badly we were wrong and how right you guys were.
You're always more correct. Shanghai Dragons loses against the bye, and Eagle Gaming takes it all.
Eagle Gaming takes it all. But that has been the Thursday installment of Contested. We'll see you guys here back next week on Tuesday.